Hey there, Truth Seeker. Welcome to our channel and community where we focus on developing the knowledge, understanding, and wisdom to accelerate your ascension into the fifth dimension and beyond. For those returning, welcome back, and a massive hello to our new subscribers or listeners. My name is David Keratin. I am a galactic astrologer, author, indigo warrior, and EDM DJ. Feel free to check out our playlist linked below. My partner, Sana, and I work together with Galactic Astrology. Today, we will both narrate this fascinating reading. For disclosure, we subscribe to the Astro app professional astrology platform, although we are not affiliated with them for marketing. We will link their homepage in the description below. Before we go any further, what can you expect from today's reading and what is our channel all about? Briefly, we explore and interpret the 13-sign galactic astrology system, which includes the constellation of Ophiuchus. Astronomically, the southern part of Ophiuchus lies between Scorpius to the west and Sagittarius to the east. Known as the Snake Bearer and Golden Eagle, Ophiuchus lies opposite Orion, the home of Saturn. This reading is specifically about the full moon of July 14, 2022 at 6:37 a.m. here in the Southern Hemisphere, which is 2:37 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on July 13, 2022 in the United States. Before we get to that, let's set some context. For us, astrology is the study of human behavior through a spiritual lens. Astrology helps us connect with the universal intelligence who talks to us about his or her intentions by orchestrating the cosmic dance of planetary energies. Therefore, astrology helps us to investigate the infinite mind of Source and to align organically with the rhythm of life. Within the astrological mosaic are dozens of puzzle pieces which together form a map of human consciousness. According to Carl Jung, astrology provides insights into our individual and collective characteristics, emotional blockages, and of course, our potential. Astrology is like music, taste, and aroma. It is universal. It crosses geographical and language barriers, and most people on the planet will know their star sign. When under pressure, astrology helps us make sense of what is happening, often when we are experiencing sadness, frustration, or a dark night of the soul. For clarity, we are not saying that the planets are the cause of events, rather they are markers of time. And as archetypes, they provide us with a blueprint for navigating life. With that introduction, let us now turn to further analysis of this full moon. Using galactic astrology, the Sun is located at 21 degrees Gemini, opposite the Moon at 25 degrees Sagittarius. The Moon in Sagittarius forms a three-way conjunction with Pluto and the asteroid Icarus, representing the archetype of risk-taking. Despite his father's instructions, Icarus flew too close to the Sun, causing the wax in his wings to melt. He falls out of the sky, plunges into the sea, and drowns. Icarus overestimated and miscalculated his abilities. So, the moral of this story is to look before you leap. This full moon alignment of the Moon, Icarus, and Pluto speaks of the urgent need to confront our beliefs about philosophy, science, and academia, the domain of Sagittarius, through factual communication, the domain of Gemini. We are being warned through the Icarus metaphor that we individually and collectively are sailing close to danger. The moon, when paired with plutonic power, can sweep us away. As we venture into the deep seas of consciousness, we are dealing with strong undercurrents and rogue waves. The moon and Pluto can be overwhelming, heavy, and for many, too much to deal with. Pluto conjunct the moon in Sagittarius implores us to stop, to take heed of our actions, to reassess and recalibrate what we are doing. Pluto in Sagittarius asks us to probe our collective and individual psychology so we can identify cancerous cells and malignant belief systems that no longer serve us. Pluto, to be blunt, is where the old version of us, as individuals or as a collective, passes away to be reborn and renewed. Pluto's domain is the criminal mind, narcissism, and twisted logic. This is the underbelly, the bear pit, and repository of recurring dreams. Pluto is where our obsessive, compulsive neuroses and voyeuristic tendencies reside, and it is where the darkest aspects of humanity take root. At this full moon, the sun in Gemini asks us to be an investigative journalist, and the moon asks us to use our instincts and feminine intuition to discern. Gemini encourages us to objectively collect data so that we can clearly assess where the darkness of ignorance is threatening to overcome humanity. That darkness exists in our leadership, our governments, our financial system, our science, and our academic institutions. Gemini is the energy of data mining, and he holds the frequency of communication. While Pluto conjunct the moon in Sagittarius asks us to confront the dark aspects of our collective belief systems, the sun in Gemini implores us to talk about our fears so that we progressively resolve our trauma. Sagittarius represents the highest philosophical thinking that drives humanity, that which comes from Ivy League universities, the church, and luminaries like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, whose influence underpins our politics, judiciary, and economics. The full moon energy here brings to light our most cherished philosophical beliefs, our so-called sacred cows, non-negotiables, and cultural expectations. Ideas like, I did it for the greater good, require examination to understand if this is a valid position to take. Sagittarius is the Akashic record or field that contains our concepts about shame, guilt, and sacrifice. These mental and emotional constructs are the engine of our human operating system, providing the source code that connects the human species. Unfortunately, some of our beliefs are causing us to take unnecessary risks, and Icarus here as metaphor says, wake up folks, because the sun is melting our wings. Pluto conjunct the moon and Icarus in this context is about reviewing our blind faith and deep emotional connection to white coats and clinical trials. Pluto in Sagittarius also speaks to where we have given away our power to leaders and experts, especially in science and politics, and how we accept their direction because they know best. We trust them. Everything is okay, and they have our best interests at heart. Now we will hear from Sana.
The moon is our mother archetype. She is the pathway to our unconscious fears, anxieties, and concerns. At this full moon, our basic instincts for food, shelter, safety, and connection will surface. If these needs are being threatened in some way, now is when we will feel it. By way of resolution and relief to our troubled minds, the Sun conjunct Mercury in Gemini says there is a way forward, and it starts with collecting data so you can analyze what's happening in real life. Meanwhile, the Sun forms a rare stellium or planetary cluster involving the asteroid Lilith, Mercury, and the trans-Neptunians Hades and Chronos, who you will recognize from the study of Uranian astrology. Also known as the Hamburg School, the trans-Neptunian archetypes were first developed in 1923 by Alfred Whitty. We will talk more about the significance of the Sun in conjunction to Hades and Chronos at this full moon a little later. In the meantime, Lilith as an archetype represents an important aspect of the divine feminine. She is a goddess, often referred to as the dark side of the moon, representing our repressed shadow. As such, her mystery has been defiled, and her energy is distorted by the male patriarchy out of ignorance and fear. Depending on where you obtain your information, Lilith is variously described as a witch and dark angel, praised by occultists. While in biblical folklore, Lilith was Adam's first wife, who refused to lay beneath him. Lilith actively resisted male dominance, and she represents the feminine mystique. Lilith is the archetype that describes how we take back our divine feminine power, a principle that applies equally to females and males. Lilith conjunct the Sun, Chronos, and Hades is a powerful message to speak up against male tyranny, disempowerment, and subservience. Chronos is the archetype for leadership and strategic management. Chronos conjunct Lilith is the call to identify where top-down command and control structures actively suppress divine feminine intuition, emotional intelligence, and right-brain creativity, blocking its flow. Mercury is the archetype of using data to fuel courageous conversations. The alignment of Lilith with Mercury, the Sun, and Chronos speaks to thinking strategically, seeing the big picture, and maneuvering through oppressive power structures not with force, but with the cunning of a fox. Hades and Pluto are two sides of a coin. Both speak to the destructive, but ultimately positive aspects of death as a metaphorical doorway to other worlds. Mercury is the winged messenger. We talked about him at length in a prior new moon blog. As a deity, Mercury could travel in two worlds. He could travel freely to the underworld of Pluto and Hades, and his role was to escort souls to the afterlife. Pluto conjunct the moon and Hades conjunct the sun remind us that death is part of life. It is essential to regeneration, evolution, and expansion. For there is no life without death, and they coexist as equals. Pluto in Sagittarius represents the urgent need to identify decaying belief structures so we can transform them into something beneficial. Hades in Gemini, conjunct the Sun and Mercury, at this full moon, represents communicating how to transform beliefs, how to move forward, and how to do so with supportive information. At this full moon, we are being asked to go deep inside our beliefs. We are being challenged to identify where we are flying blind by giving away our authority to leaders and experts. We are being reminded that the divine feminine is not a chattel, a plaything, nor property of men. Lilith stands for the masculine and feminine as equals. Mercury in Gemini asks us to collect data, to openly communicate what we have found, and to make informed decisions about our well-being, health, and safety. Pluto in Sagittarius asks us to take back our power as sovereign individuals. Right now, there are transformative collective forces at play that will overwhelm us if we do not seek to master them. There is intense darkness lurking in the shadows, cloaked in respectability, scientific analysis, and the voices of experts, leaders, and politicians. There is an underbelly of suppressed voices and divine feminine energies that must now be heard. As we conclude, let us reflect. The astrological system contains puzzle pieces that help us interpret individual and collective experiences. Galactic astrology is ancient knowledge that has been kept secret to all but the insiders who have used it for themselves. Galactic astrology, once applied to your life, can have profound impacts on how you perceive and interpret your reason for being. For those of you contemplating and considering what creative contribution you can make as the third dimension collapses, now is the time to go inwards, in mindfulness and meditation, to clarify your ideas. At this full moon, much that has been hidden in the collective will begin to surface. It is going to be a wild ride. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. You will also find us on Facebook at David Carrington. Namaste. This has been a production of Star Kittens Media.